Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Riqueza podcast. I'm your host, Lielanda Verde, and today we're going to be talking about money and relationships. I think all of us know that money is really important, especially when it comes to our own personal lives, right? But it also matters in your relationship, even when you're dating. Now, if you're like me, I grew up being taught that I needed to be a mantenida, that I needed to find someone que me iba a cuidar, and that I shouldn't have to worry about money because my partner needs to figure that out for me. But like Cher said, Mom, I am the rich man, and that has been my goal in life. For those who don't know what to do with their money and how to express that with their partners and their goals, and probably just, maybe your parents didn't teach you what to expect in a relationship, I want you to know, first off, that money is personal, finances are personal, and every relationship is different. Okay. But today we're going to guide you through a few tips and tricks on how to navigate your money while in relationships or while dating. Okay. We're going to talk about our individual relationship with money. We're going to talk about our relationship with our culture and society and money. And we're also going to talk about creating those foundations with your partner and how to establish that at different stages in your relationship. Okay. Because like I said, finances are personal. Everybody's journey is different. And I'm coming through my experience through also adding in some education in there. But I think it's really important to realize that you cannot be in a relationship if you have not talked about money. Okay. Or if you've been in a relationship, if you haven't talked about money, you probably need to, right? And I'm sure you know that. I was talking to someone a while back and they're like, oh yeah, I've been with my partner 6 years and I don't know what we haven't really had that money conversation. I'm like, how? Why? They're like, yeah, we just had it and it was not what I expected. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure, because I think money is inevitable. And you cannot ignore it, regardless, even in your own life. But imagine in a relationship. And let me see what the statistic was. Let me pull up my phone real quick. I think it was like 27% of relationships break up because they don't talk about money or because of money. Now, let me confirm that before I even start talking shit. Let me see. Yes, it's 20% of couples break up over finances, and it even increases to 30% for those 35 to 49. Now, this is wild. I mean, it's not wild because I think we know that. I think we know that money is really important, and it also ties to the highest reasons of people why people get divorced, right? So, we're going to start off with talking about your individual relationship with money. Before you get into relationship, before you start navigating, okay, what I want in a partner, I think it's what do you want with yourself first, right? Having that money talk with yourself of like, okay, what do I want in my life? What are my goals in my life? What am I working towards? And what would I like to see my partner, aligned with me in? Okay. Because even in my own dating life, I have always had standards and expectations of how I want my partner to show up for me. And one of them is financially. And it's not the amount of money they bring into the household. It's the amount of drive that they have and financial goals that they have, right? Because we all have different backgrounds. Some of us have education, some of us don't. Some of our partners have education, some of them don't, right? It's not about that. For me, it's about the drive and the energy that they're willing to bring into the household, as well as the future that we want to have together. But for me, I had to understand what I was expecting for myself. Okay. So my degrees, I wanted, to pursue my career in finance and then, start my journey to entrepreneurship. And I was, always savvy with money. And I would tell my partners that I'd be like, oh yeah, I can help you with your finances if you need any help. And there was many times in my relationships, my past ones, that I would have to say, if you cannot keep up, you're going to get left behind because I'm constantly going, I'm constantly trying to work for more in my life. And some people are not at that pace. Some people are just like, in their stagnant energy, or just kind of, in that pivot where they, or that point in their life where they plateau and they need to pivot. And so when I reflected on what I wanted and what I was looking for, I had to think about, what are my goals? What are my short-term money goals? Short-term money goals are anything from 3 months to 3 years. Okay. Where do you see yourself? Do you want to save for a house? Do you want to start investing? Things like that, right? Or do you want to get a new job? Are you trying to get degrees, trying to move? And then longer term goals, are anything over 3 years, right? So retirement planning, kids planning, right? So these are the things that you want to think about and ask yourself, right? So your individual relationship with money is really important, because that's about you. There's no biases. I don't want you to have any biases when you think about this. This is just you and your idea and your ideal scenario. And even if you're culturally, and we'll talk about that in a minute, you believe that, you need to have someone that makes more than you, or you need to be with someone that's going to pay your bills. The only thing that I'm going to say to that is financial independence is really important, regardless if, you're in a queer relationship or it's a hetero relationship. I don't care. Every individual in a relationship needs their own financial security and stability. And in a relationship, you're also going to know that there's going to be, one person's going to bring in 20% of the energy, 80% of the energy. It's going to change. It fluctuates. 50-50 doesn't really exist. But 50-50 energy is important, like bringing what you have to the table, not financially, just like the energy wise. And sometimes I've known in my relationship that it's going to fluctuate too, but I know that I'm willing to put in my fullest amount of energy into my relationship. Same with, Zany bringing in that full energy, but we fill each other's cups when things happen. But regardless, I want you to think about your independence as a priority in your life, because uno nunca sabe. I do not believe in mantenida culture, but I do believe that even women, men need their financial independence and security. Because I always think about this all the time. I'm like, how do men feel, right? With all the pressure and the struggles that they have to go through to maintain their family, to make sure there's a roof over the head and food over the table culturally, right? In the machista culture, it's just the man. The man has to figure that out, right? But no one checks in with them. And so I want you to, if you haven't ever talked about finances with your partner, check in with them, see how they're feeling and how stressed they might be. We can't be over here pidiendo, no haciendo nada, And I do believe that women who stay at home, that's a job. Being a mom is a job too. That needs to be compensated for. Diving into more of the cultural expectations and society expectations. Once you know what you want, right, your foundation, and obviously, like I said, financial security and stability is really important, because uno nunca sabe. You never know if anything happens. You need that backup for yourself. And culturally, we don't really talk about that, because we depend on somebody financially. One partner brings in the income, and that's what, you're supposed to do. I remember my parents were like, you need to stay at home and have kids, get a part-time job and have your husband, growing up. And I was like, no, I don't want that. I want to make sure I have my own money coming in for myself and my independence, to make sure that if anything happens, I got me too. You got me, but I got me, right? So cultural and society expectations is going to change the way that we view relationships too, right? Whether we watch on reality TV or it's nuestra abuela or tío, tía bugging about money and how you supposed to act with it in your partnership. So I want you to know that you don't have to follow it if you do not want to, what your culture and society says about you. I'm pulling up some notes because I wrote some things down that I wanted to make sure that I address. Other things that you might have from like an expectations of in your culture is, do you have that family member that's always asking for money? Okay, that's also something that might come with our culture. We have to support our family in other countries, or our own family in our same cities or different cities. So is that something that you want to continue to do? Or is that something that, you want to, and it has to be a part of your budget, and your partner needs to realize that that's part of your package, right? Do your friends expect you to go out every weekend? That's society pressure, and that's money that's going out of your account for excursions, activities, the bars, whatever it might be, that your partner might not want to, constantly do all the time. For example, before me and Zany got together, Zany was the one that was going out all the time. I have never been that type of person. I'm a homebody, I'm a Cancer. And so I love to be at home. So I know that I don't like to spend a lot of money going out, and I like to plan if I do go out. Those are things that, society's pressure might come in and be like, oh, you need to be traveling. Everybody on Instagram is posting traveling pictures. So you think you need to be traveling. And again, those are more pressures, and you have to set boundaries with yourself. What do you expect from a society perspective, cultural perspective for yourself and your money? Right? And even in a relationship, what would that look like? It can be overwhelming to talk about this and sit down with this. And thank God I have a replay of my money date workshop for you to watch. And there's a workbook attached with it. So that will be coming out here soon. So if it's not in the podcast notes, it will be coming out in the next few weeks. So if you're like, I don't know what to do, Leah, this is a little bit more like, I actually want to journal this out. There's going to be a workbook to guide you through all of this. So when you listen to this, I want you to think about, okay, what's my individual relationship with money? What are my goals? What is society expecting of me? And do I want to conform to that? What is my cultural expectations? Do I want to conform to that? Yes or no? Okay. Everybody's culture is different. Everybody's viewpoint in society is different. Like, for example, I'm a queer woman dating a woman. The way we navigate our money is not the same as a hetero relationship. We have very different energies. Like I said, we bring in what we can, and depending on our incomes, we try to meet where we can financially. I usually make more than Zany. And that's how we balance out our expenses based on how she can afford her expenses, my expenses, and we combine those two. Now, we're not going to get into the technical part of how to manage your finances in the relationship exactly, because again, that is very, very specific to everybody's relationship. And there's so many options out there, but we're talking about those conversations. We're talking about initiating a money talk, okay? Because money talks are important, regardless of what stage of your relationship is, because you can be in different stages. So you can be in the lovebird stage where you're getting to know each other and you're really liking each other, you're vibing, or you can be in the settling down stage where, you're like, all right, I want to be with this person. We have some more goals, I can see myself marrying them. And then obviously there's the people who are already in relationships and they've been together for a while, but they just never talked about it. They just kind of ignored it, right? So you might be in either stage. Now, if you are in the lovebird stage, the way that I want you to navigate that conversation is just, you don't have to tell people your finances right away, okay? You don't tell people your money on the first date. No. If someone comes at you and says, oh, I make this much money, I'm rich, blah, blah, no, I don't like your energy. But if you're starting to date someone, the way that I like to bring up money conversations is, what are your goals? So what do you aspire to do in life? What career do you have? And what do you want? Do you want to start a business? And if what they're responding with aligns with you, okay, we're getting somewhere. Okay. You don't have to spill the tea. But then once you're getting into that lovebird and you're like, oh my God, we have similar goals, we aspire for the same thing, that's when you can ask a little bit about, how do you manage your finances? What is your relationship with money look like? I have goals to, buy this house and do this. So I'm saving and prioritizing that. What are you prioritizing? And I know I make it sound really simple, but me and Zany, if you didn't listen to that episode about me and Zany talking about money, it took us, about 3-4 months to have that conversation of how we were going to navigate our finances. But I had set the expectation to Zany that we're going to have this conversation. We're going to sit down and run our numbers. She knew that it was coming. I was patient with her, but we also had very similar goals in the very beginning too. So I kind of knew that, okay, this is my person. I'm just going to be patient with them. Now, if what she told me was not what I wanted to hear, or I didn't want to support that, or, it's okay. You can break up with your person if that's not what you want in your relationship, right? Because we live in a society where dual income is a privilege and is so important in this economy, right? We need to make money for ourselves, our family, and for our generational wealth, right? So something to think about. Now, if you've already been in a relationship for a while, you should probably know each other's goals. You should probably know what people are saving towards and everything like that. Now, You just probably just need a money date with your partner. You need to sit down and actually run numbers together. And you don't even have to combine your finances right away. You don't have to do that. Like I said, finances are personal. Everybody can do it their own way, whatever works for them. But you probably need a money date. Now, if you don't know what a money date is a time where you bring in your snacks, bring your wine, maybe a joint, make it a fun activity where you sit down and run your numbers, whether that's looking at your credit card statements, whether that's planning your budget for the next month, whether that is planning and setting boundaries on what you want to spend on this month or what you can and can't take on from an expense perspective. That's what a money date is all about. If you're starting out, if you're doing it for yourself, because you can do this by yourself too if you don't have a partner and you're just listening because you're like, oh, I want to learn about this, right? So you can do this for yourself. You can do this weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever's best and for your needs as a couple or as an individual. I usually have people start weekly or bi-weekly if they find it hard to look at their money for a long time. I know it can get overwhelming, that initiation of looking, but it takes off so much anxiety once you actually look at the numbers. So again, a money date is all about just having fun and setting those goals and expectations with each other and the boundaries. Now, that's what you would need. And if you've already been in a relationship for a while and you haven't had that conversation. Now, if you need a little script about it, I have some right here that I'm going to read to you. Okay. So here's one. I'd love to have a better understanding of our financial picture as a couple. Can we find a time to sit down and go over our finances together? Now, this is another one. I've been researching ways to improve our financial well-being, and I'd like to share some ideas with you. Can we have a conversation about our finances so that we can make informed decisions together? Damn, Zany, you did so good on this one. My wife, she's amazing. She did this. And this is all inside of the Money Date Workshop, by the way, and in the workbook. So there's resources here for you. Like I said, if they're not in the podcast notes when I release this episode, it will be in a few weeks. Now, the talk, okay? So when you have a conversation with your partner about money, you want to set a positive tone. You want to be nice, okay? Don't be freaking yelling at each other. No. And you might bump heads, and that might be something that you might need to go to couples therapy about if you guys are really fighting really hard about. I'm a strong believer in couples therapies, and sometimes it's about money. We know that, so it's okay if you need to go to therapy if you guys disagree on some things that are fundamentally at your core, like you cannot change. But set a positive tone. Share your perspective, come from a vulnerable place, right? Especially in the Latinx culture, we don't have these conversations. And you can even, this is important, even if you have a kid or something, have a money date with your kid, teach them how to budget too while you're doing it, identify your financial goals. What are you guys working towards? Evaluate income and expenses. So evaluate how much you're bringing in and what you're, spending on. Create a budget, which is income minus expenses, is the simplest formula. Discuss your financial responsibilities. So again, every relationship is going to be different. The way that you divide your expenses and set who is responsible for what is up to you guys and your vision of how each person's going to manage their expenses. Again, regardless of woman or man, does not matter. It's what you guys want, okay? Money management. So how are you guys going to manage your money? Are you guys going to get a joint account to have your essential expenses there, right? Or you guys are going to have a high yield savings account for your home goals or for buying a car goals or having a kid fund or your wedding fund. And if it gets a little complex, like if you have a lot of money outstanding, like that you've saved up, you want to invest, or that you're selling a home and you don't know what to do about it, and you're making a lot of equity, or you have stock options from your employer, or it's a little more complex than just like the budgeting, the saving, paying off debt, then you might need professional advice to help guide that conversation. So whether it's like budgeting and saving and paying off debt, I'm a financial coach. I can help you. You can hire a financial coach. Or if it's, damn, I have all these assets that I need to figure out. We're now a family and it's getting a little more complicated. I want to make sure that I'm planning for my retirement. That is where a financial advisor would come in for your relationship. And it's important that you guys come in together, right? I've heard stories from financial advisors that they're like, sometimes los viejitos, the wife is the one that manages the finances, not the man, the husband. Or sometimes it's the husband that comes in. The wife has no idea what she's doing, right? But she has opinions but she doesn't understand, right? This is how we break generational curses in order to start our journey to riqueza and having good, healthy relationships with money, not only within ourselves, but with our partners. So last tip on here is set a money day and schedule it. Like I said, whether it's bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, schedule it. Schedule some time to run your numbers. Don't be afraid of them. Again, you are in control of them, not your money. Money is just a tool and you are in control. You have to put it to work. Now, I hope this clarifies your questions on how to have a conversation with your partner about money, regardless of any stage. And it starts with your individual relationship con tu dinero. ¿Qué metas tienes tú? ¿Qué pensamientos, qué sueños tienes en tu vida? And again, we want to break our generational curses. We want to create these healthy foundations, and it's going to evolve and it's going to change. But if we create that dynamic of conversation, that's one step forward into opening the doors of money talks, money goals, and creating your riqueza as a family. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at miriquezapodcast@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram or TikTok. But thank you so much, Riqueza family, for listening to all of our episodes. I'm sorry that this one came out a little later. Zaini has been sicky and she is the one who edits my podcast. So if we miss an episode, just know I'm trying my very best. One of us is probably sick. We produce this at home. So thank you everyone who listens to Riqueza podcast. We have so many amazing episodes coming up with guests. Gosh, I've been recording so much and just know they're coming. So please be patient with me. Thank you for supporting me. Share this episode with a bestie, a primo, prima, tía, tío, tus padres, tus niños, whoever. And thank you for following and listening to Riqueza podcast. I'll see y'all next time.